Yes, glory be, and welcome back to another episode of Q Points Podcast. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is Jay Ray, sometimes known by my government as Johnny Ray Cornegay III. What's happening, people? So it's a funny thing that's happening, Sir Daniel. I'm used to looking at my camera on this side. The camera's over there. I'm going to do my best.
You're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen like Mariah Carey. And keep on dropping the needle on Black music history as we do each and every episode. Jay Ray, aside from a new camera, what's going on? How you feeling?
Oh my God, today has been so crazy. You know, this is one of those days, I'm gonna keep it real, Q Points. Everything feels overwhelming. But being here on this show in this moment right now is an escape. You know, I'm getting the opportunity to talk to you, Sir Daniel. I'm getting a chance to kick it with all of our Q Points fam. So I'm good. I'm ready to have this. We got a lot to talk about tonight, y'all, but I'm ready to do tonight. How you doing, man?
You know what? I feel you. And ladies and gentlemen, this is how I know J Ray was having one of those days. I sent J Ray maybe at least 3 different links to different stories about stuff that was just happening music-wise in real time. And when not a peep, not a response. I said, his head is down. He is in the trenches working because J Ray is always working. But, you know, just like you said, J Ray, this is a moment that we can get together, just you, me, and the listener, and just kick it and talk about, you know, various things that are music related, but also we're citizens of the world as well. So we have to, to talk about what's happening around us as well. And we're going to delve into that. But before we do all of that, shout out to all our early listeners, the folks that are joining into the live recording as we're on the air and checking us out. But J Ray, let's talk to the folks and remind the listener of how they can do their due diligence and be the best Q Point citizens that they can be.
Oh man, y'all are already doing that. There are folks who are joining us. Drop where you're joining from, by the way, in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Shout out to Carlton, who was in the chat earlier. So thank you so much for joining us, Carlton. And thank you to all of y'all. So I say all that to say, you're doing the very best thing that you can do right now. I'm going to stop looking at this empty camera and look over here. You're doing the very best thing that you can do already, and that's by tuning into the show, watching us, and sharing the show with your friends. That's also really important. That's absolutely free. It doesn't cost you anything, but it makes a world of difference for podcasters. So make that a thing that you do for all of your podcasts that you listen to as well. Listen, subscribe, share the show. It helps us all for people to discover it. If you want to go a step further, support Q Points, you can visit our website at qpoints.com, click the subscribe button, and you can become a member. You could also join our mailing list. But thank you all just for being here. Shout out to Mark over in Columbus, Ohio. So good to see y'all. Sir Daniel, we are about to have a conversation about an artist that for both you and I was this ever-present kind of figure who did so much in his career and was really influential. So we are going to talk tonight about Barry White. So as you could see, we're continuing in this line. We started the conversation with Teddy Pendergrass. We moved on to Isaac Hayes. Now we're at our brother, Barry White. Now, show you right. Just a quick history of Barry White. So like uh unlike Teddy, but like Isaac Hayes, Barry White was born in the South. He was born in Texas. He was raised though out in Cali.
South
He was
Central.
raised, yeah, he was
Mhm.
raised in California, the Watts South Central area, and was always into music. So at a very young age, Barry White began playing piano, which happened for a lot of these folks, right? We talk a lot on Q Points about music in schools. So church for black folks, a lot of the folks that we talk about, church
Mhm.
and school is a place that the music education started. And that's what's really sad too about today, is because we don't really have neither of those institutions, right?
Yeah.
Play a role in that musical development today. But that being said, um Barry White got into a whole lot of stuff as a youngster. So he ended up going to prison at a young age. He was into the gang situation out in LA,
Mhm.
and ended up going to prison. And it was when he got out of prison that he decided that music was going to be the thing that he focused on. And I'm so glad that he did. um, because it was like Isaac Hayes again, Barry White was a writer and producer. So he was like behind the scenes writing for folks. He sang in some doo-wop groups, and was doing that because with the Barry White's voice he could hit them low notes. So he was of course doing the doo-wop thing. This is the early 1960s, and did that for a long time before just kind of sparking out on his own. And in the early 1970s, where we really get to meet Barry White as an artist, he formed the Love Unlimited Orchestra. So, Sir Daniel, I got a question,
Mhm.
because that's
Yeah.
unheard of today, right? A person is like, here's what I'm going to do. I am going
Mhm.
to set out. I'm a producer. People know me as a producer. I am going to form my own orchestra.
Right on.
That's like that's amazing to me.
You know, and I am going to speak in this octave for the rest of this podcast. But yes, speaking back to a point you were making earlier about schools and churches and music programs. Shout out to my mother who bought a piano. I believe I was 8 years old and bought a piano that had to be carried up to the second floor of our walk-up apartment, and I had piano lessons. Didn't stick with it for long because I didn't see the vision yet. I didn't see the love that could have been. I didn't see. Listen, if Sir Daniel had learned how to play piano and stuck with it, y'all wouldn't be able to tell me nothing right now. I'll probably be on tour with somebody as we speak. But is this too much? Okay, I'm gonna.
It's my
'Cause I
favorite
think
thing.
it might be a little too much.
It's probably
Okay,
getting the people hot. Who's hot listening to Sir Daniel's Barry White voice? You could drop it in the chat. It's
drop it in
okay.
the chat. No, but seriously, no. But yeah, I that's one regret that I have is that I did not stick with learning to play the piano, or at least see it all the way through, because I really believe that could have taken me to a different height, to different places. But we're here. We're
Mhm.
here and we're talking about exactly what you said. Barry White creating an orchestra. That was an innovation that we saw a lot of
Mhm.
young men that were interested in music back then. They were interested in creating doo-wop groups. They were interested in creating choirs. They
Mhm.
were interested in creating bands.
Mhm.
You know, you could and in his case, a whole orchestra. We're talking string sections, wind sections, the whole nine. And then you have people like the Commodores who met in school. Being in a band, creating a collective of people in the name of music is it's just not. something that we see often today anymore. And I'm thinking, I don't know, it's because, we can't blame everything on technology, but technology does kind of incubate or create this feeling of a one man island where I can do everything on my own in my room. And if somebody hot wants to get on this track, so be it.
Mm.
But there's no, I think part of the sauce, part of Barry White's magic is being able to conduct. Do you know what that takes to conduct an orchestra?
Yeah.
There are, how many people are typically in the orchestra, J Ray? I don't know
I
that
don't
number.
know. If anyone knows in the chat, definitely let us know or comment, because I know I know. I mean, um uh I think it could be
We'll
pretty
say
much
upwards of
any
50.
size. But yes, but
Right.
you are commanding multiple sections playing many instruments. And the other layer to this that is a talent is you got to write that music. These people, this is not jamming out,
Yeah.
to a song. You literally, like, these people who are playing those things need sheet music. They need to know when to come in and what to play when it's their time.
He composed these bodies of works. And like J Ray said, this is on sheet music because the musicians need something to go off of. And that means you have to be able to read music.
Mm-hmm.
Or what does Dion Ward call it? Sight reading of
Uh-huh.
music.
Yes, yes, yes.
Those are all talents that the talents that were honed,
Yep.
that have to be honed and have to, be cultivated in order to create what he did. And now what I did in research find out is that Barry White was notorious for very long titles. It was like very, very long titles of his groups, long song titles. It's going to be extensive because he's a verbose person. You know,
Yep. One of my favorite Barry White songs is I'm gonna love you just a little bit more, baby. Not I'm
baby.
gonna love you just a little. It's I'm gonna love you just a little more, baby. I'm like, babe,
Right.
you didn't have to put
That's a
that in
mouthful.
there, Barry.
That's a mouthful. If you're a DJ, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, imagine it written on a 45. That's a lot.
Too much. Too much. Too much.
So to that point, let's in talking about Barry, so not only of course was he an accomplished musician and composer, because them songs was fire. The voice. Once again, we are now back on this conversation, y'all. Barry White is playing on Quiet Storm right now. He was playing earlier on classic R&B radio today. This is a man whose voice was on pop radio at one point. There is nothing like that today, and his voice resonated through them little speakers in that car like nobody's business.
You know what? I wonder if somebody could do a study on that. If why people seem to be drawn towards more of a falsetto today than a heavy baritone. Like Barry White got that voice at the age of 14.
Can you
Like
imagine seeing this little boy? And he's like, "Hello." You're like, "What
um,
the?"
imagine waking up one morning and you sound like that, and people like, "Oh, do you have a cold?" No, that's just how I talk, baby. You know,
You got to add the baby at the end.
that's just how. And then add on to that, he was a heavy cigarette smoker,
Right.
so that took the octaves down even lower. So, but Ahmed, that's a gift. That was his trademark, and we'll talk about it later. But that served him very well outside of music.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
And
No, we mentioned the Love Unlimited Orchestra, but of course there was a group consisted of three. amazing black women, including one married to Barry White, Glodine, which is a heck of a name. I love that name so much.
Baby,
But
that is a black. That is a black ass name. Her brother's probably named Gloria, and her father's name was Dean. So
right,
they probably just called Glodine.
Glodine.
Glodine with the long nails. You think Coco of SWV has long nails? Glodine started that.
Glodine did. When I was a kid, sidebar, Glodine used to be on like Solid Gold and stuff like all the time. Like in
Mm.
80s television, Glodine White was visible a lot. And she would have them nails and they would be like gold and like doing things. That freaked me out as a kid. I did not understand. And then
The
Coco came
nails,
along.
and then Coco came along and took it. So the nails didn't do it for you at all.
No. No.
Yeah, I can see how they would be scary looking, but again, you got three chocolate sisters that he produced for Love Unlimited.
How did it
And
come about, Sir Daniel? How do we think it came about?
so I'm betting dollars to donuts that during a studio session, Barry rolled up on them like, "Hey there, ladies. Listen now, you foxy ladies, you got a real cool sound, and I think you need to get on the bandwagon. You need to get on the right team because he had that pimp thing going on
Yeah.
too. You need you need to get on the right team and join your boy because I think you would be real solid as a trio. Because Diana Ross and the Supremes, they were cool, but they on their way out. But I got a new funky sound that I bet you foxy ladies could really turn out. So what you say? What you gonna do? You gonna get the winning with the winning team or what? Sure, you're right. That's just
Ah,
my
yeah.
reenactment, my interpretation of what might have happened in the studio when Barry White rolled up on you and said, "Hey, let's form this Supergirl group."
And Love Unlimited had bops. Like, so Barry White, we talked about this. Barry White was a producer, right? So Barry was not only creating his own stuff, Barry was like sprinkling his magic on like other artists as well. So he was much in the same vein of a Stevie Wonder or or a later years, of course, a Prince and a Rick
Mm-hmm.
James. Barry White was doing the exact same thing, where he was an artist himself, but he would also work with all these other folks, produce their stuff, have his folks singing on stuff. It was a whole machine that this brother was running in the early 1970s.
But the thing about that, before we got Barry, we probably wouldn't have even gotten Barry White, the soloist, the superstar, had it not have been for one of his business partners, one of his excuse me, one of his business partners forcing him into the forefront because he was a reluctant star. He absolutely had no plans on becoming a front man. But to your point, when it gets to a point where you're cutting demos, boys and girls, you're cutting demos, and which is short for a demonstration
Mhm.
of how a song is supposed to be sung on the music. He's already composed the music, and so now he's written the lyrics, and he's going in the studio and he's singing it the way you want, or you want a singer to sing it and to produce it for public consumption. And so he would get in the studio and make these demos, and the record label was like, "Hold up,
Beery.
Barry, this right here is a hit." So all of that stuff about not being a superstar, not being a front man, we're gonna you're gonna have to get over that because we're putting you out. We're gonna put you out in the forefront. And J Ray, I'm wondering because now we look at Barry White as the prototype for the ultimate fly big boy, right?
Yep.
He before we had Heavy D, before Notorious B.I.G., there was Barry White.
Yep.
There is so much footage and so many images of Barry White. Barry White was a pristine looking man.
Hmm.
He was a large man.
Mhm.
He was tall, he was imposing. But I mean, do we need to start with the hair or
That,
do we need to start with the gear? Which one? Where you want to
you know
start,
what?
Jared?
Let's go from top to bottom because that process, that perm that was happening, dumb curls were quaffing.
You never, you really never saw him without his hair laid. Like him and Glodine had like, I bet you. Can you imagine them sitting in matching dryers under matching dryers with their hairs in complete roller sets?
Animal print
And
robes.
and back then, those rollers were big barrel rollers. They were either pink or they were blue. Because you and I, we both saw our mothers set their hair.
Mm-hmm.
Kids, there was a time when women would sit down and set their hair every single night with
Mm-hmm.
either these pink foam rollers or these hard barrel pink, like wide barrel pink rollers. And so that they would, in the next morning, they would have what they called bouncing and behaving hair with lots of volume. So I say all that to say that man was pristine. He kept his hair coiffed, and I'm thinking, don't quote me on this, but I'm thinking that was an ode to James Brown because a lot of them looked up to James Brown, and the conch and the
Mm-hmm.
perm that was a look. Little Richard, all of those men had that hair, and so he carried that on. But that man was pristine. I'm sure he had like custom made outfits
Oh yeah.
from hats to the turtlenecks with the jackets. He wore lots of velvet. He looked very regal and
Mm-hmm.
royal. Let's not even get on the jewelry. He the pimp nail,
Yep.
the one pimp
The
nail.
one
We know
pimp
that
nail. We
we
know what
know
that was
that was
for.
for. Yeah. But again, like the gentleman that we have in the past couple of episodes that we spoke of, Teddy Pendergrass, Isaac Hayes, this image was so popular not only here in the United States, but that image got across the pond, J. Ray,
Mm-hmm.
and he was such a star, especially in the United Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to hear something foul? You know what they refer to him in the UK? They refer to him as what they call the Velvet Walrus because
Ooh, his
yeah,
hotness.
I don't know if that was supposed to be complimentary or
Hmm.
a little jab. It
Hmm.
was probably both, but he still represented, and that was very important to a lot of black men, I
Yeah.
would think.
Yeah. I wonder to that point, to that point, Sir Daniel, I wonder if some of the reluctance of being out front came from the fact of he was aware of his look
Hmm.
and what and how that would be perceived as a front person, or what in his mind he thought a front person should look like. Because I immediately thought of that when I saw the note that you were going to talk about the fact that he was a reluctant superstar. Um we we assume that Barry White was this, you know smooth, I'm very self-assured, but I wonder if that was true. And I'm sure at the beginning of his career there I wonder if there was some reluctance. And stuff like the velvet wall. First of all, those words don't sound good together. Like
No.
velvet walrus. I don't know anyone that would want to be called a walrus. Somebody let me know. Are walruses like animals, like high esteem animals? I really don't know, but I don't want anybody calling me one. I don't want anybody
No.
referring to me as an animal. That's, of course, as a black thing. Don't call me no animals. I don't want that.
Well, it was high key racism,
Yes,
because velvet
absolutely.
velvet refers to being black, and then of
Mm-hmm.
course walrus was in regards to his stature and
Mm-hmm.
he had a large head,
Mm-hmm.
and that's probably why he wore the big curls. Because when you're a big guy, let's just be real. Let's let the people in on a secret. When you're a big guy, ladies and gentlemen, you know how to do things to present your body in the best possible light that you can. You
Mm-hmm.
work with what you got. You try to make sure that you know your angles, you know what haircuts work best for you based on your face and your frame, and you work that and you try to make it work to the best that you know how.
What's the word, everybody? It's your man, Mr. Al Peter, Mr. Peterson's Neighborhood, and the NPN Network. And I'm here today to tell you about what the NPN Network consists of. The NPN Network is an entertainment as well as a developing media company based in Jacksonville, Florida. Our goal is to highlight various creatives that exist in spaces of music, visual arts, podcasting, and more. Within the network, we have multiple brands that will parallel with creatives, events, and other brands. The Neighborhood Podcast Network is a collective of independent podcast shows that has various topics ranging from the latest culture news, mental health, sports, and leisure conversations. We also have the Groove Suite brand that explores the realm of soul, hip-hop, R&B, funk, and more.
The Groove Suite.
Our health and beauty section gives a view on how to keep yourself in shape, in style, and in tune with your body and your mental. Last, we have the Fly Socks and Tees, an annual summer event that brings creatives together to celebrate the past years and victories that were received. So swing by our website, mpn-llc.com, and subscribe so you can stay up on what's happening with the neighbors and the groovers. Also follow us on our Facebook page as well as Instagram and Twitter, MPN Management. Building but becoming to the top.
He rose to stardom to heights that was unimaginable, and then to be considered again, here we are talking about eroticism
Mm-hmm.
and Black men in this country, when comedians, when Hollywood wants to portray or highlight male sexuality, what is the first thing they do? They did what I did in the earlier clip of this show.
Mm-hmm.
Is I deepened my voice,
Mm-hmm.
and I tried to sound smooth and do that kind of thing, because Black men like Barry White and Isaac Hayes were the prototype for that. A country that was so scared of Black men and Black sexuality, but yet and still they found a way to incorporate it in music and movies and selling clothing, selling malt liquor, whatever it is. It's so wild that this country, I don't know if they feared us, I don't know if it's fear or resented us, but at the same time can't get enough of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all of the above. And I think it's actually it should be a lesson to us. Big folks lean in a little bit.
Please.
Because we can look back on brothers like Barry White and Heavy D and Biggie. Like Biggie was also fawned over by, women who were, into him.
Mm-hmm.
There is Barry exuded this sex appeal. There was that control, there was that confidence that we talked about, there was that pulled togetherness that we talked about, but there was that deep voice, that fact that he's up there with the conductor's wand. I think it's called a wand, and he was up there with the conductor's wand doing the thing that allowed people to see him sexually. Listen, when I was a kid, Barry White would come on and the ladies would do a thing, okay? Like, I love that big. I love me some Barry White.
That big old teddy bear.
Yup.
And Glodine, and apparently the ladies loved him as well, because he had several relationships that resulted in several children.
I'm sure Glodine was like,
Not Glodine, of course, she was the queen bee because she was actually married to him and whatnot. But yeah, again, the blueprint, one of the archetypes for what it means to be a Black man and express or exude sexuality within the box of music. And I think the time in which he came out kind of lent to that. nowadays, I don't know. We just don't get fly like we used to. In my opinion, we don't get fresh like we used to.
We don't I don't know that the clothes even are conducive to it. Like, so here's
Mhm.
the thing, we're in, I mean, this is a whole sidebar, but you know, like we're in this fast fashion era where the
Yeah.
clothes turn over really quickly. You might get a year out of some joints, whereas when we were younger, I felt like you could have the thing that would make the fashion pass would just be like, you can't wear that no more because it's out of style, like it's past.
Mhm.
But I feel like the clothes would still be okay, right? You could
Right.
wear them. You just should not, because no longer people don't wear that. So I don't know that in this day, without spending a grip, that you could be as fly as what Barry was given. And we don't get that fly, I don't think, as a society anymore. Because it wasn't just Barry White. It was like when we were talking about Teddy Pendergrass. When you look at all them Teddy Pendergrass joints, like he had these long furs, and it was a lot.
Yeah.
You don't
It
see
was a
none of the
lot.
R&B stars really like suited down, fur coats, none of that.
And even if they do it, there is a reluctancy. I don't know what it is. There's a reluctancy in men nowadays portraying that, because you'll see, and I see it all the time when I'm out spinning. I will see a couple come in and the woman is dressed to the nines. You hear me?
Down.
Hair done, nails done, everything did, right? And then here he come, and the guy that she's with is wearing, might be wearing a matching short set, polo short set, and he got on a fresh pair of sneakers, and that's it. That's, I think that's probably all we're expecting
Mm.
of a lot of guys, because then on the other coin, on the other side of that coin, if you start to dress up too much, then you're accused of being sassy. So it's
Oh,
there's
that's the
that.
new,
Yeah,
yes, the sassification of that's a, oh.
it's a
So
whole nother conversation.
to this point, I do think this is interesting, and maybe this is going to lead to another show, but I'm wondering how much hip hop. We should go back and revisit our fashion. We've done a couple of fashion shows. I'm curious to know if we've broached this part of the subject, because when we look back on folks like Barry, that piece is missing. Real
Yeah.
quick though, before we, because I want to get to, because this is bringing up a vision of Barry. Now it's bringing up the '90s vision. We're gonna get there,
Hmm.
but
Okay.
Barry's voice, of course, it got, because you mentioned this earlier. When Hollywood comes calling, they want a piece of you in all the different areas. And one of the ways that Barry White's image was used was just his voice, like, because he was used for like voiceover and animation stuff
Hmm.
in Hollywood.
Absolutely. I think it started like in 1972. He was a part. His voice was used in a
A
cartoon.
cartoon.
Uh, as a matter of fact, Gen Xers, who remembers the Banana Splits,
Oh
the show they used
yeah. Mm-hmm.
to sit in Marty Krofft of the Banana Splits. Barry White wrote and voiced one of their biggest songs, "Do the Banana Split." As a matter of fact, he wrote that, and so his voice was in cartoons. He showed up in the 80s and 90s in The
It
Simpsons.
a lot in The Simpsons.
A lot in The Simpsons. I think, as a matter of fact, he was like the bus driver or something. He was a recurring character in The Simpsons, and of course, they use his music a lot in Ally McBeal,
Mm-hmm.
and he popped up in a few episodes of Ally McBeal. You know, but to your point, the industry, music, and Hollywood will extract what they want from you.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when that era passed, where he couldn't get away, nobody was really looking at a large black man of a certain age as a sex symbol, but they still wanted his voice because it was recognizable. They took it and they used it. They
Mm-hmm.
used it for a lot of things. But I'm pretty certain that continued to make him an icon,
It did.
because Jerry, I consider you iconic if I can dress up as you for Halloween, and that's right around the corner. You're an icon.
Yeah.
because
You
if
giving me an
people know
idea.
if people know exactly who you are just based on the costume, maybe it's if I showed up with a bumped wig with big curls and whatnot, and had a conductor wand, you
Yep.
say, you're being Barry White.
Barry White.
Show you're right.
I would get. I actually think we should do different versions of Barry White. For Halloween is around the corner, and I can't celebrate it because I'll be traveling. But I want to get the Jerry curl wig.
The
Barry, I'm
wet
thinking of like the
wet
'90s,
like Gary
the wet one
Gary.
with like the leopard print shirt and like the V. Because now, Sir Daniel, we have arrived to the R&B classic that we have to talk about, the Secret Garden.
Come join me in the secret garden, baby. Now, so before we started recording, J Ray and I were talking about we thought about it. Secret Garden, Quincy Jones. First of all, shout out to Quincy Jones for pulling. This is like his opus, his '90s opus of gathering all these hot R&B singers, songwriters to be a part of this one project. We got Tamia out of it.
Mm-hmm.
We got Tevin Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
All of this due to Quincy. It was called The Man, wasn't it?
No, this was the Back on the Block era. So the Back on
Back
the
on the Block.
Block,
Okay.
that was when he was jumping in. So that joint featured Ray Charles, Shaka Khan, I'll be good to you, jam,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah.
And the Back on the Block was Quincy incorporating like hip hop into like a Quincy Jones style. So QD3, shout out to QD3, and all of those cats. But to your point, one of the joints that we got that will never die was the
Never
Secret
ever
Garden.
J Ray, that's like the ultimate R&B male posse cut.
It really is. It
may have been the first posse cut by a group of R&B men. Mm-hmm. So Secret Garden featured I'll Be Sure,
mm-hmm.
El DeBarge,
mm-hmm. James Ingram,
Barry White, James Ingram,
and Barry White.
Am I missing anyone? And Barry White.
Mm-hmm.
So a very important record. It's still a staple of Quiet Storm formats across the country. But Barry White's voice, you had El DeBarge giving you what he does, the falsettos, the high notes, and James and everybody else in between. But I don't think that record would be the classic that it is without Barry White anchoring it with his baritone.
No, Quincy Jones knew exactly what to do. So Barry is the end of that song. So you've now gone through all of these different voices and you get Barry talking, right? He don't start singing first. He starts talking. And he's going to, and so you like, here he come. I'll take
again with the narration
of you. Yes, with the
Remember
going back to like Isaac Hayes, the narration where, and that happens on a bunch of Barry songs and Love Unlimited songs. Like before you get the song, you're going to get the story. So Barry did that thing. Like, no, we're gonna bring you in. We're gonna let these people feel this voice before we have you sing anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you gotta, for lack of a better term, you just can't like plow your way through it. You got to get people ready, and that's exactly what Barry White did on this record. You have to prime the listener, and that whole record they were priming the listener for this climactic moment with Barry, and what was I about to say? I just lost my point regarding regarding that record. Oh, so Jerry and I were hashing through some theories about who we thought could have been on the record, but was not.
Nope.
Somebody that worked very closely with Quincy Jones.
Yep.
Jerry, who could have been on that record but was not? Oh, we forgot we mentioned I'll
We
Be Sure,
mentioned,
right?
let's talk about it, because I think the
Let's
people
talk
in the
about it.
chat after we have this conversation are going to I'll Be Sure's vocal on The
Mm-hmm.
Secret Garden is very distinct and similar to
Uh-huh.
another artist's vocal style.
Yeah.
That Carlton got it.
Carlton's on its
Carlton
case
Carlton got
already.
it. Al B. Shore's vocal in The Secret Garden sounds just like a Michael Jackson vocal. Like, so my running gag with The Secret Garden, I was like, the only note they gave to Al B. Shore was like, yes, more Michael though. Like, just go back.
More Michael. And so of course we got to talking, and here's how we think the conversation went in that studio. Hey, Michael, baby, man, just hop on this record for me. That's Quincy Jones, y'all. Just hop on this record for us. It's gonna be your smash. Oh, Quincy, I really can't. I don't have time. Please, get somebody else to do it. I can't. Yeah,
So
Michael was definitely asked to be on the record, and we're for certain turn it down. But that was just my interpretation of how it went down. He hit Quincy Jones with the get somebody else to do it.
and they
But
got Al B. Shore.
I'll be
Shout out to
sure.
Al B. Shore.
Who, for all intents and purposes, Quincy Jones selected.
Yeah.
Remember, I'll Be Sure was the Sony Innovator. What was that, 86?
88 when
86,
in effect
87?
mode.
Because
Yeah.
so I'll Be Sure was handpicked by Quincy Jones because I'm pretty certain he saw and heard something that he found very familiar to other artists that he worked with in the past. But yeah, super important record. And J. Ray made a great point. Without the Secret Garden, we wouldn't have had Levert, Sweat, and Gill.
No. So yeah, this is like I'm sure it was like a vision that you could get an R&B super group and make it work, right? Because I actually think, there's the Temptations had tried it before, and it didn't quite work. The Secret Garden was, of course, just a song on an album. I'm sure somebody in the studio said, we should get together and do a thing. And somebody was probably like, no. But yeah, we wouldn't have gotten LSG. And I think LSG would have continued. Had Gerald Levert not passed away, we would have gotten another LSG record because they popped. And it worked for them.
And don't forget Tank, Genuine, and Tyrese.
Yeah, what was they take? What was they? TGT.
Yeah.
LSG had 2 albums. There we go. See,
Yeah.
I'd be forgetting. Time be flying. Thank you, Carlton. So this record is an enduring classic, but it's a classic. It would be a completely different record if Barry White was not on the album.
Exactly. And that was well into the 90s.
Yep.
Well into the hip hop era.
Yep.
And like our last show, the focal point of our last show, Isaac Hayes, Barry White's records have been sampled to no end. I mean, hundreds of times they have been sampled. They've been remade. They've been covered. But when we're talking about the realm of hip hop, Barry White is like a go-to when it comes to hip hop. And I'm gonna ask J Ray the same question we answered in the last episode. What is your favorite Barry White sample?
Okay. This was hard. Okay. So this was
so
hard.
Many, yeah.
It was a lot of them. And the other challenge was Barry White, like we talked about, produced so many joints. So I didn't actually pick a Barry White song. I actually picked a song that Barry White wrote and produced. And I kind of got 2. All right, I'm gonna just do this one because one is real cringe. I'm gonna do the one that's not cringe first, and then I'm gonna do the one that's cringe. So the song I picked is is Most Def's The Panties from a Most Def album that I really like, The New Danger, but it samples Tom Brock's I Love You More and More. I Love You More and More is a jam, y'all. If you've never heard that song, go listen to Tom Brock's I Love You More and More. It is written and produced by Barry White. It is completely a bop. But yeah, so The Panties is what I think is like my favorite use of like a Barry White song. It was just like,
Composition.
yeah, I think it was like a very complimentary sort of thing. Now, this one is so 88 Keys on The Death of Adam did a song, and it featured the Love Unlimited joint. What's the name of that song? Uh
In the rain.
yeah, no, it's the dang it. I can't remember which song it is. Anyway, it'll come to me in a second. But the Love Unlimited, the 88 Keys song, it's called Handcuff 'em. I'm sorry, y'all. And the joint is, of course, it's a long Barry White title, and it sounds like every other. That's why I couldn't think of it. It samples "I Love You So, Never Gonna Let You Go." That what I love about that joint is it's such an energetic song. The song is real cringe. I'm not gonna lie, but the sample, the way he flips that sample, is dope. So go check it out. And it's gonna probably go on my list of problematic faves. Can I do a runner up too? My runner up, real quick. It's All About the Benjamins. So that also samples a Love Unlimited joint. I Did It for Love from their third album, and that it's from a Barry White joint. That is a Barry White sample. So there we go. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. I love those. I came up with one. I'm lazy, but this this song has been sampled so many times and chopped up. People, the piano section has been used countless times. I'm talking about. We mentioned this song earlier. I'm gonna love you just a little bit more, baby.
Baby.
Along the king of long titles, but yeah, that it's been used by LaShawn on Totally Awesome, which is the B-side to Wild Thing. It's been used by Boss and Deeper and Deeper and Deeper. It's
It
been
was
used
on
by
The New
Eric B.
Danger
and
too.
Rakim.
Yep, that same Most Def album includes that sample too.
It's been, I mean, countless times. That I just wonder what one of those, like, just how much of his estate is just based on sample clearances alone, because that record is crazy sampled in hip hop over and over again. So I just wonder, that's my particular favorite because I'm a fan of that rolling piano that that is sampled throughout the record. But
it's hot.
Because people use that beginning, or they use that.
Yep.
Yeah, lots of dope records have been are based off of that one Love Unlimited orchestra jam.
And I think once again, and this is the same for Isaac Hayes, because those songs were so long and they had so many parts, and it was an orchestra, right? Because they had changes, you could literally sample one song many times and be like, no, that's the same song. It's just the third section of that song.
Yep.
You know, it's the power.
You could take the piano, you could take the drums. I think a lot of people just use the drums.
Yep.
All of that.
Yep.
So before we start beatboxing, J. Ray, we're going to wrap up this episode because I know we've been talking your ears off, but we had a lot to say in this episode. There's a lot going on, and we wanted to give Barry White his props. I hope you all enjoyed this particular episode. Make sure you join us next for the next episode.
Yeah, wait till you see who we're talking about, y'all. We're gonna round this thing out.
We're gonna round it out. You might have a clue, but you think you know, but do you really know?
Right.
So you're just gonna have to stay tuned. But J. Ray, remind the listener how they can continue to support Q Points before we start packing up so we can head to Baltimore.
Boom. Boom. Listen, y'all are doing exactly what y'all need to do, and it is watching or listening. So wherever you are, hit the subscribe button so that you can stay up on Q Points, and go ahead and share the show. If you're into what we give over here at Q Points, let the folks know that we do this on Thursday nights live, but then you can also, of course, follow the show wherever you listen to or watch your podcast. Visit our website, qpoints.com, hit subscribe if you would like to support the show in that way. You can also shop our store. That's also great. And you can join our mailing list.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what do I always say? In this life, you have a choice. You can either pick up the needle or you can let the record play. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
My name is J Ray, y'all.
And this is Q Points Podcast, dropping the needle on Black music history. We'll see you on the next go round. Peace.
Peace.